Hello, fellow Rebel Capitalists. Hope you're well. Just going over a story from CNBC, and it dawned on me. This is the answer. Everyone always asks me, George, what should I do? What should I invest in? We know that there's a lot of problems with the economy and with what's happening in the United States and in the West and pretty much all over the world right now. But what can I do? And then what can I do with my portfolio? What's the best ROI right now as we speak? And when I was looking at this picture and going over the story from CNBC, it dawned on me. So let's go over to this article. And this is state and local relief not in the cards for residents of high tax states as House assesses Inflation Reduction Act. So key points here. After fighting to repeal the $10,000 limit on the federal deduction for state and local taxes known as SALT, a group of House Democrats say they'll vote for the party's spending package without SALT reform. So just backing up a little bit, if you guys haven't followed what's been going on, is I believe Trump, even probably a couple years ago, maybe more than that, they passed a bill or passed a law, whatever, stating that you could only deduct a maximum of $10,000 in state and local taxes. So prior to that, I don't know if there was a limit, but if there was, it was a lot higher. So let's just say you're a millionaire that lives in New York City or in California, where you've got astronomical state taxes. What you could have done is you could have deducted that against your federal income or your federal taxable income, and that would have lowered what you have to pay to the government. But now they can only deduct a max of $10,000. So obviously you could see why the Democrats want to get rid of this tax. It's ironic that they want to raise taxes on the 1%, but they want to lower this tax on the 1%. it just shows the hypocrisy, really. But this really wasn't the main thing that caught my eye. Honestly, it was this picture. Now, this picture, see, was taken April 15th. This could be it. All right. Well, this doesn't change the conclusion of the video and what your best investment is, that's for sure. But I thought this picture was taken just recently, which is weird here because the story came out today, yet they're using a picture from 2021. Okay. Regardless, I thought that this picture was from today or recently, and they're all still wearing masks. Now, maybe the politicians, when they're doing these announcements to the media, these press conferences, maybe they're still doing this. I don't know. I don't watch TV. I don't watch the news. I could absolutely care less. But it just dawned on me that, number one, why? And number two, would I really want to live in a state where this was still prevalent, where the majority of the people, including the politicians, were still living in this world of self-induced hypochondria? And you guys know that I've said on this channel many times, what's your end game there, guys? If you're living in a state and everyone around you is still wearing a mask, what is their end game? Because where we are right now with the cerveza sickness is where we will most likely be in 20 years. Just is what it is. So if you're wearing a mask now, then you're basically saying that you want to wear a mask for the next 20 years, or you're okay with that. And you're okay with living in a bubble and living in fear for the indefinite future. and that is going to be imposed not only on you, but everyone around you, your family, and probably most importantly, your kids. So I thought to myself, who in their right mind would want to live in an area, a state, a city, a country, a neighborhood that has this type of attitude? On top of that, has extremely high taxes. So we know very well that over the last couple of years, the standard of living has gone down for everybody, except the people that own assets, from the standpoint of inflation going higher, and their wages aren't keeping up. So the real incomes have gone down, real wages have gone down, purchasing power down, standard of living down. And this is for the poor, the middle class, and I would say the upper middle class, even the high income earners. If they don't have a house that's tripled in price, or if they don't have a massive stock portfolio, they too are still behind where they were in 2019. So you've got, on one hand, your purchasing power decreasing. On the other hand, you've got it decreasing even further because of taxes in these types of states. On top of that, you've got all of these crazy people that are choosing to live in fear. And they're trying to impose that fear on you, your family, your children. They're living in a fantasy world of hypochondria. There is no end game. This isn't regarding the science, not at all. This is just regarding a political narrative that they are trying to, for reasons unknown to me, I think unknown to any rational person, they're trying to continue this parallel universe of germophobia, let's just say, forever, indefinitely into the future. And why would you want to subject yourself, your family, and your kids to that when you look at all three of those things? So my point is, I think the best investment you can make is move, for heaven's sakes. Get the hell out of Dodge. And I had this conversation with Doug Casey when I had dinner with him the other day in Miami prior to Rebel Capitalist Live. And I said, Doug, you've been really talking about this for years, how for some reason people tend to live their lives as a vegetable, where it's just where you are, you're stuck there. You've got roots and you just can't leave. No matter what happens, no matter how bad it gets, you just can't leave because this is where you live. It's a bizarre mentality. Now, I get it. If you have a job and your job requires you to stay there, okay, fine. But when you're doing a cost-benefit analysis, the costs of you keeping that job are getting greater and greater and greater. And the costs will continue to get more cumbersome, or more, the costs will continue to grow into the future. They will continue to be more and more of a burden on your life, in my opinion. Now, if you're someone that lives in Florida, in Texas, I would also consider moving. Now, I think that's definitely the best in the United States for sure. And I think from a standpoint of freedom and liberty, that is, without a shadow of a doubt, the best place in the world as of right now. It may not be in 6 months. It may not be in a year. But the problem with those states is you're still getting squeezed as far as your standard of living. Your purchasing power is going down. It's not like Texas and Florida have been haven't experienced the same rates of inflation that the other states have. So if you have the ability, if you could open your mind, I would strongly suggest considering going to a place. And if you have the ability to earn dollars online or anything like this, I know I'm talking to a very small percentage, but I think if we understand the concepts, it'll help us make better decisions in the future. So, but if you're one of those people, especially if you're a young person and you're trying to decide what to do, for heaven's sakes, make money online if you can, and go to an area where your expenses are denominated in a different currency. I mean, for heaven's sakes, if you live in Texas, you got Mexico right there. If you live in California, you got Mexico right there. I mean, why not just save the money and let the United States just go up in a flame of inflation over the next decade, if that's what your base case is, and just the arbitrage, the geo arbitrage, if you want to call it that, just pocket the spread and take those extra dollars that you have left over at the end of the month and invest them. Start your portfolio, build your portfolio, start a business. Do these things that will most likely better your financial future. So if you have the ability, get the hell out of Dodge when it comes to these high tax blue states where they've proven to you over the last 2 years that they will completely ignore science, and they will do everything they can to push a narrative at the expense of their voters and manipulating their voters to continue to suffer in a bubble of hypochondria. They've proven this to you. So get the heck out of those states. If you got to stay in the U.S., go to Texas, go to Florida, and to take it a step further, if you have the ability, try to go to an area that will dramatically reduce your expenses. I mean, forget the CPI going from 9.1 to 8.5. Think about what would happen to your expenses if you went from Miami to Medellin, Colombia. You want to talk about your personal CPI. Your personal CPI would go down by 70%. You could experience deflation right now. In fact, tomorrow, you could experience 70% deflation when it comes to your own personal expenses. So just food for thought. And at the end of the day, I think your location is the best investment you can make. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your afternoon. As always, make sure that you're standing up for freedom, liberty, free market capitalism. We'll see you in the next video.